November 1st, 2010, public hearing. The first matter on the agenda this evening is the acceptance of the minutes for October 18th, 2010. Any of the board members have any corrections or notations to be added for those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I had some revisions for that. I believe Aaron Hill
Sure. Do you want to comment further on it, or do you feel that you spoke with them adequately, or?
Well, yeah, I just, matter of fact, I intend to even go back and listen to the meeting, but I believe the section where Mr. Chairman read in the letters from the neighborhood group, and they're disjointed as to the purpose behind the letters. And one of the neighborhood groups, now whether it was in the context of the reading of the letters or somewhere in our discussion, reference a specific project, and I believe in our discussion that it was stated that that project was the impetus to look at this particular part of the zoning code, and then it was looked at as, from DPD's perspective, as the entire effect of the neighborhood business district. But I think it's important for the minutes to reflect that somewhere in there, it was looked at for a specific project as part of it, and I just want the minutes to properly reflect that.
Aaron, do you have any comment on that? I know we saw correspondence on an email regarding some of our...
Yeah, we received the comment from Member Frechette, and I haven't had a chance to read through them, but just from what Mr. Frechette just described it, that sounds like it fits exactly what the discussion was and where it originated from, so I can make those changes, or we can make those changes. Absolutely.
Okay, so we want to, anybody else have any comments on the minutes? The only one I had was on page 5. It carries on, if we look on page 4 at the bottom, where it says, Member Claremont suggested discussion, then it goes on, this would allow the development opportunity that has been discussed as far, when he said perhaps requiring such a project to obtain a special permit. And then on the next page, Chairman Linehan noted that City Council now reviews items that used to require, if we just put in the word there, special permit, planning board review, such as the planned residential development. So if we could just highlight special permit on that, if we could, please.
Sure, that was the top of page 4, correct?
That's on page 5.
Oh, page 5.
First sentence, very end. We talked about how special permits were, and I made a comment on how we used to have special permits on the planned residential development, but now the city council controls those.
Gotcha.
So
Sure.
it does say special permit on page 4, but to make it clear on 5, it just says, Chairman Linehan noted that City Council now reviews items that used to require planning board review, such as planned residential development. So we just throw in the word special permit there. So, any other board members have any comments on these matters? Mr. Shedd, is this something you want to wait till we review it further and accept it at the next?
If the body would be willing, I just would like to have, to see what the final wording will be on that.
So do you want to postpone this to our next meeting for acceptance of the minutes and to see how they are amended, to make sure everybody feels comfortable with the matter?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion that we can continue the acceptance of the meeting to minutes of October 18th, 2010, to our next meeting, which is 2 weeks from tonight, which is November 15th.
I'll put that in the form of a motion, Mr.
Motion's
Chairman.
made by Mr. Fischett, second.
Second.
By Mr. Genman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Moving along, we do have new business scheduled for a public hearing this evening. And this is a zoning amendment, which is 600 Rogers Street. In accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 290 thereof entitled zoning. The amendment would extend the regional retail zoning district to include the back portion of the lot located at 600 Rogers Street. May we hear the case from the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, representing Angelo and Lisa Kukas, who are here with me tonight. They're the owners of the premises, and they're also the operators of Chili's Roast Beef. I think some of you are probably familiar with it, located there. Earlier this summer, they contacted me because they were desirous of making some renovations to the building, and it was at that time that we discovered that the back portion of the property was not properly zoned, it was zoned single family. It's been that way all along, and I don't know why it was never picked up. And as you can see per the plan that was submitted, a corner of the building does encroach into the single family zone. The queue for the drive-through was in the single family zone, and also the several existing parking spaces are there. So what we're asking is, we'd like to present to the council to extend the RR zone to include that whole piece. I've done some research at the building department, the city, and it's been used commercially since the early 60s. Back in 1962, the original Lefty's restaurant opened on that site. Later it moved to the other site, but that's where it opened. In 1972, Lowell Bank and Trust opened a bank there, and that's when the drive-through started. In 1990, Jack Topier, I don't know if you remember Jack's Hot Dogs, Bill's brother was there. These people came in and they've been operating since 1993, and they purchased the property in 1998. So that's why we're here tonight, in order to make some improvements and make it all conform. I think it kind of lines up with the shopping center on the other side. So we'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Flood. Does anybody else on behalf of the applicant want to speak before I turn it over to the public?
I don't think so.
Anyone here like to speak in favor of the rezoning? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition of the rezoning? In opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Any of the board members have any questions? Mr. Genvin, do you mind if I start with you?
So I'm curious, I know years ago they used to allow parking, at least I think, they used to allow parking for a business on a residential lot. Is that true?
Years ago they do, but they don't now.
So I think when the business was originally put in, they probably, the building itself is located in the business commercial district.
Most of it is.
But the parking was put on the residential lot.
Right.
And so now I think it's grandfathered such that the parking can probably continue on the residential lot. We couldn't do that now as a new project, but so there's nothing really non-conforming about the business as it is now. Is that true, Aaron?
Yeah, the way you described it is in line with the way this lays out. This was existing going back to 1962, sounds like, and back prior to somewhere around the 80s, as you stated, parking wasn't expressly disallowed on residential districts. So yeah, I mean, it's an existing non-conforming structure, but it has grandfathered status, so you could run it that way.
Right. So, and I know it used to be, it used to be a way to kind of extend things, because I've seen cases where people would put a business on a commercial lot and the parking on a residential lot. I'm not saying anybody here did anything like this, but I've seen it happen in the city, where business goes on a commercial lot, parking goes on a residential lot, and then down the line, it's like, oh, well, we're using this as part of our business anyways, why can't we just extend the zoning and make it a commercial zoning? So I guess I have a few issues with this, and that is, number one is that section of road. That section of road is an extremely dangerous section of road, I think, and I think it's sorely in need of some city planning. I think we really need to take a look at that section that runs from Phoenix Ave up to Boylston Street. It's about a 0.2 of a mile section of road. Today I counted about 32 curb cuts in that section of road, and that includes streets as well as entrances and exits for business. So, and it's a section of road where coming down Rogers Street, the 4 lanes of traffic channel into 2 lanes of traffic. So everybody's kind of merging, they're going fast because they just came off the highway. There's all these curb cuts, cars coming in and out. And furthermore, it's a thoroughfare to Shed Park for the Belvedere neighborhood. You know, that little section of road is the section of road that a lot of kids travel on when they're going to Shed Park to play baseball or to play tennis or to play soccer or run cross country or whatever it might be, sledding in the wintertime. So in my opinion, it's always been a critical section of road for the city that we really need to take a close look at. So all that has nothing to do with your request, but it's kind of background to the fact that I really am, I would be hesitant to extend the business district on this lot because I feel as though we really need to take a closer look at this whole area, that whole section of the city, that whole section of road, before we start piecemeal changing zoning. So, you know, I have a real issue with it for that reason. The other thing is that I have this, I'm very concerned about creep of the business districts into the neighborhoods. I really feel as though one of the most important things we have to do down here is to protect our neighborhoods. And while this is only this is a parking lot now, I still worry about the future ramifications of changing this lot, making it completely commercially zoned. Because even though, you know, the stated purpose here is to make some improvements on the building, and I'm sure that's true, you know, 5, 10, 15 years from now, you know, we could be looking at, you know, a Taco Bell with a drive-through on the corner of Holyrood. And that concerns me for all the reasons I just stated. The safety of that road, as well as the creep of the commercial district into the neighborhood, which is something I think we need to be protecting. So I have some real concerns about making a positive recommendation to the City Council on this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gentleman. Mr. Fischett?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just a few questions. I just went out to the site today and just trying to get a feeling from the diagram that we have here. In the back, there's a stockade fence and some parking. Is the new line right to that stockade fence, or is that the?
That's the boundary line.
That's the boundary line, and that's where you, okay.
Yep.
And does the petitioners live in the house that's right?
No,
No?
but they have spoken with them. The Coffees live there.
Okay,
He was a teacher at the Lowell High School, but Mrs. Kukas has spoken with Mr. Coffey.
okay.
Yes,
And
she's
then,
not
obviously, no one is here this evening, and I'm assuming notices were sent to the abutters.
No, there's no requirement on the zone.
Oh, no,
change
that's true, yeah.
But there would be on anything that's going to happen there if there was a new
Right.
development, but not on the zone change.
There were discussions with the abutters?
He did, yep.
Okay. And then I'm just curious, Mr. Flood, is what brought about the request for the change?
Well, if you were going to improve the drive-through in the back there at all, you can't do it now. Plus, the building does encroach a little over.
Yep, I see that.
In the, you know, the parking. So, I mean, I don't see anyone putting a single-family home in there.
Right,
And this is the first time they've discovered it.
sure. So is the intent right now, is what they're looking at is changing the drive-through in some?
Well, that was one of the things they were thinking of, and maybe expanding the building.
Okay. Okay, I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lockhart, any questions?
Yeah, I have a comment and a question. I think it would be wonderful if you could provide some additional investment here to improve this property. I think it needs it in the back there, and especially like in your drive-in menu board, it was, it's pretty run down.
Yeah, that's on the
You
commercial.
could make it look a lot nicer where it's abutting the neighborhood. I just have a question relative to the drive-through. And I mean, we've been talking about drive-throughs in the past couple of meetings and with some new regulations and all. Does this affect what they may try to do here, Aaron? At all?
The amendment that was reviewed at the last meeting?
Yeah, I don't remember the details, but
This
just in
wouldn't
general.
change for this. If changing the drive-through was to accommodate a change in the use to, say, a pharmacy, it would require,
Yeah, okay.
it would require less of a queue, but if it was to stay a restaurant, it would be the same process, same review standards and everything would be.
No change in use?
No change in use.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Clammer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Flood, this is all part of one lot, is that correct?
Right.
It's all under 600,
600 Roger
is that
Street,
correct?
yes. Yeah.
And the front portion of it is already zone RR, and that's about 11,000 some odd square feet. And the back portion is about 9,000 square
9,000
feet.
square feet, right.
It's all
Right.
part and parcel of the same lot.
Same
correct?
piece, yeah. I have the old plans that show it all together.
Yeah, no, I think I get a sense of that. So we have one lot with a split zone at this point.
Right, absolutely, right.
Okay, and the back portion has been used for commercial purposes, parking and whatnot.
Since the 60s, I
Yeah,
think.
okay. I have no more questions, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
I just have a couple. I know when I first looked at the map, I know it says Hollywood Ave, but if you look at the street sign, it says Parkview.
Parkview.
I know, but
So is it Hollywood under,
there's two
According-
plans, Mr. Linehan. There's a land court plan, I mean, I think Joe can answer that, that calls it Holyrood, because Holyrood was originally intended to come down, well, you know, right past my house down into here, and then there's Parkview where the turn was. The city engineers have approved this as Holyrood because, I think because of the land court plan.
because
Yeah.
basically if you drive up, now if you go up there, the street sign says Parkview, you go up there, you have to take a right to go to Hollywood.
Yeah, go up Laurel to Holyrood, right.
Right, okay.
But I have the old plans, and they're all,
I think when I looked at it first, I said, I
All
don't
this
know where
is-
Hollywood hits Rogers Street.
all the subdivision plans have it as Holyrood, based on the old land court plan, so
Okay.
that's the only reason.
So looking at it now, the person who lives on 131 Holyrood, but he gets the mail at Parkview Ave, but,
Parkview, right.
right. They would be to the very back end of your proposed lot here?
Correct.
Okay. And is that the people's name who is Richard and Denise Coffey?
Coffee, correct.
So the proposed line that comes down is, so by looking at that, inside of that line would be now where the dumpster is?
Yes, inside that line, inside that fence, right.
Because when that fence goes down, it goes down and it jets out and cuts back in a bit.
There was a subdivision back in the 70s where a small piece was cut out and conveyed to the Coffees.
Okay?
It's a small little piece there.
Right.
So
Because
that's
I know
why
when-
it
When you
bends.
notice the fence, it's not completely straight. It goes down, then cuts, and then cuts back in.
It bends down, right.
Okay. And then it comes all the way down to, if you're looking from Hollywood/Parkview, then you can go down and you look and you see Simon's Deli and the beauty salon next to it. So that would come all the way down to that area, okay. So how many feet does the existing building now actually project onto the proposed 9,000 square foot lot?
Oh, it's minor.
Because I can see there, it's,
It's just a corner.
yeah, I mean, so. I mean, I'm just curious what it was. I know we see the dotted line where the existing line changes, and it's tough to tell on scale. I mean,
The zone change comes right through here, right?
left corner part.
Yeah, right through the
Do
building.
you have any idea what estimate of how big that portion? I'm just curious.
It'd be minor, it's minor, Tom.
I do remember that when it was the bank, because actually, I was mentioning it earlier in discussion, I said, I forgot that Lefties was there, but I do remember the bank being there. And also, when you drive through there now, there's still that night deposits thing
It's still there.
by the two drive-throughs where it still says, the metal box that you pull open.
You remember Jack's doghouse, you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
But I first remember the bank. I remember going to the bank there. And I do remember Jack's, but I forget Lefty's being there, but I remember Lefty's when it was over by Kilkenny's, but now that you jog my memory, I do remember it was there at first.
That's where they started, 62, according to the building department.
Excuse me.
So is, the intention at this point in time is to leave that building existing on site?
At this point, yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I have no further questions. Any board members, any follow-up questions?
Chairman.
Yes.
So Aaron, can you tell us, is this really one lot at 600 Rogers Street? Is that how it was originated, or was it converted over the years? Looks
I
to me
don't-
like, it looks to me like two lots, one on Rogers Street and one on Holyrood or Parkview, or whatever it is.
I believe it's a single lot. I know this plan, it shows the hash marks that go with the, the turns in a property boundary. It's got the hash marks where the zoning line is, but I think that's just the way that the plan was drawn up. But my understanding is that this is a single lot.
If you'd like to see the plan, Mr. Gendron, the most recent subdivision plan.
No, I think the most recent, I'm just wondering how, over the years, if that evolved into a single lot, or if that was,
This is 1995.
yeah. I just think, we know what's gonna happen in this lot. We recommend and change the zoning. It opens up that lot to a host of other opportunities there, business opportunities that will continue to make this section of road more hazardous and cause further creep into the neighborhood. There's been no notification of neighbors. I know these people spoke to the abutter, but this is the type of project and the type of change I think should have a wider notification because of the ramifications of changing the zoning on this lot. So, I think we're playing with fire in extending it, and I think we should think pretty carefully about it.
Mr. Flood, do you mind if I take a look at that previous deed you have? Thank you. I'll share with the board. I don't want this personal, but thank you very much. Yeah, I just want to take a, okay.
That was 1995.
Oh, I see, so. So I see where they have Parkview and Hollywood coming down together in the top circle site. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, to that point,
ahead, Mr. Clymer.
if you pull up the Google map of the area, the front portion that comes out to Roger Street still shows as Holyrood, as shown on this plan, and when it hits the turn, it changes into Parkview, that's shown on this plan as well. I note on the assessor's map, it shows one lot at 600 Roger Street containing 20,076 square feet of land. It shows the zone on the assessor's map as RR, even though the zone is a split zone, and the back portion is still SSF, all under the name of Kuko. So I think that it's clearly one lot with a split zone. I think Mr. Gendron's point are well taken concerning Roger Street as a whole, that the area has to be looked at. There's certainly some opportunities to make that area better and probably less dangerous as far as the travelways are concerned, but I don't think that we can put that on these applicants. And I feel that it's an appropriate extension of the existing RR zone to put the single lot into a single zone. I think that that's an appropriate extension, so I would recommend approval.
Mr. Lockhart, was there something you want to say?
Well, I would recommend approval too, but, and I do agree with what Steve is saying. However, I think it's a separate issue for the whole roadway that it should be addressed, and it shouldn't be imposed on, the owner of one lot. I think the whole road has to be looked at, so I would encourage that as maybe a future project. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman, on the subdivision plan we were given here. It actually looks like at that time, it the original lot was comprised of the building next door, the plaza, and this building, and then it was actually,
Split up,
it
right.
wasn't to combine these lots, but it was to separate.
Separate, and they sold that
Yeah.
plaza to another gentleman.
So obviously, this lot even existed prior to this subdivision plan as even a larger portion, parcel. Yeah, and again, I understand Mr. Gendron's comments regarding this strip of road. I know we've tackled some proposals. Matter of fact, I think the property
Next door.
diagonally across from this location. And I think that would be something that DPD, really from a planning perspective, and even looking at those types of arterial roads coming into the city where there's commercial development, and how do you make it so that it's, first of all, pleasing from a streetscape perspective, and address a lot of the traffic concerns. But looking in this particular case, I share the same sentiments as Mr. Claremont, Mr. Lockhart. I think perhaps even looking at how this was rezoned back when the master plan was put together in the rezone, this is something that probably I think it overlooked to clean up, because I can tell you what we did across the city was try to clean up where we had lots that were single lots that were dissected, and I'm aware of a particular lot on Pawtucket Boulevard, matter of fact, that behind the Saab Tower, that's a similar situation. I could probably recite a lot of parcels across the city that were cleaned up, so I think this would be consistent with that. I must say, and it may not be required, but I do have concerns regarding notification. However, I do believe, even in this instance, it really is a situation where it is consistent with that strip in that particular piece of property, in order for somebody to improve what's there, rather than moving the building closer to the road, or looking for a variance at this point would allow petitioner to improve that existing building, or to improve the site. So I certainly, again, understand Mr. Gendron's concerns with that entire strip of road, but I think in this particular case, this would be an appropriate request. Thank you.
Mr. Gendron? Yes, please.
So, not to beat a dead horse, but I don't see how not changing the zoning on this land imposes anything on the applicant. The applicant still can operate their business as they're operating it, and in fact, if there's improvements that they'd like to make to the property, I think exceptions could be made to allow those improvements to take place. In addition to the streetscape, we also have to consider the creep of the commercial zone into the neighborhood, into the Belvedere neighborhood, up Parkview Ave, because if we rezone that lot, we all know that opens it up to a whole host of other opportunities there, and we could easily have a fast food restaurant there with a busy drive-through that would further, change the streetscape for the worse, in my opinion, and send cars up Parkview who are trying to access the lot, the restaurant. So, I think that to do that, to recommend that to the city council without notification, in my opinion, is the wrong thing to do. Obviously, I'm going to be in a losing effort here tonight, but that's my feeling. Just as a point of note, though, we can't change the zoning on this. Only the city council changes the zoning. This just comes before us for recommendation. So this will have to go before the city council.
Correct.
Do we know when that will take place?
No, it would have to be referred out here, from here, and then I don't know when they schedule it.
So, based on the lack of...
I just want to point one thing out, Mr. Gendron. If they wanted to expand that building back, expand it in the back, they couldn't do it.
Right, that they couldn't do.
They could not do it.
That they couldn't do, and that's what I'm trying to avoid, is that kind of expansion on that corner, because...
And they want to improve the drive, so they couldn't.
Well,
So.
I'm not so sure
I
about
mean,
that.
I live in the neighborhood. I don't have a problem with it. I've never had a
Well, I
problem.
know you don't.
I
So-
live 300
So
feet
hang on a
away.
minute, it's my turn to talk right now. It's my turn to talk right now. So, I think that this will have to go before the city council. So if there are people out there that are watching who have this concern, they should go to the city council meeting and voice their concern, because, nobody was notified about this. And once it happens, we have no recourse to stop whatever development should happen on that lot. So people need to know that. Thank you.
Anybody else, any further comments? Just for point of clarification, if, for example, if they brought the building down and want to put a new building up, which would be over 10,000 square feet, that would have to come before us for site plan anyways.
Right. And they'd have to get a special permit for a new drive-through, too, with the Board of Appeals, so. Anything that's done there would have to be in front of you people anyways.
Okay. Going back, I believe there was a motion on the floor.
I don't think there was a motion yet.
Okay.
But I will make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to recommend approval of this zoning change to the city council. As I stated previously, this is an existing lot. The front portion is zone RR. It's been used for commercial purposes for many years. The back portion of this single lot is zone SSF, but has been used for commercial purposes for parking and other things. It appears that it's one lot with a split zone, which I don't believe is the favored way of holding property. And I believe it's an appropriate extension of the RR zone. As was stated, any change in this building would trigger a site plan review at a minimum. The appropriate board would have to be contacted. You'd need the appropriate scrutiny of traffic and other considerations. So I think at this point, I just make that as a motion to recommend approval.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Opposition?
No.
Okay. So we have 4 in favor, 1 against. This matter will go before the city council for a zoning change recommendation. Thank you. Moving along, next matter we have, under new business, we have a bond release on 104 West Meadow Road, also known as Vita Extension. The board will review a request from the builder of the subdivision located at 104 West Meadow Street for the release of the remaining bond funds held for performance of construction to City of Lowell subdivision standards. I was handed a notice from Aaron from the city engineer's office that they indicate that we can release the reset of the monies due to the fact that, Aaron, do you have any communication with him before he sent you over the email?
Yeah, I had a verbal conversation with Joe Katie of the City Engineers Department. He conveyed to me that the as-built plans have been submitted to the city engineers and are adequate according to the plan standards that they're looking for. So that was the last item that was holding up any funds on this. So they were happy with what they received.
So didn't this come before us just recently, and that was the remainder of what we held back?
That's correct. I think it was a month ago. The rest of the letter of credit was reviewed, and at the time, there were some changes that the developer was making to the as-built, just some details in the plan.
So they received the as-built, and now the city engineer is comfortable with us releasing the remaining bond funds?
Yes.
So the city engineer is satisfied with the release of the bond? Any of the board members have any questions of Aaron, or? What's the wish of the board?
Motion to recommend approval of the release.
Second.
Motion made, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none, that motion carries. Moving along, we do have notices from abutting towns that were placed in our file. If there's no objections, we can request that those be placed on file.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we place on file the notices from abutting towns.
Motion's made and
Second?
second. All in favor, say aye. Chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none, those matters are placed on file. We do have the ZBA notices. These are matters that are going to appear before the Zoning Board of Appeals on their agenda on November 8th, 2010 at 6:30 PM here at the City Hall Council Chambers. We have three matters pertaining to these petitions. The first one is for a special permit, and this is for signs for the Walgreen Company located at 1201 Bridge Street. This is to petition to internally illuminate 10 wall signs and 1 freestanding pylon sign for the Walgreens to be located at the above address. This is out there on Bridge Street where they're putting in the new market basket. I believe we saw these these sets of plans when we had the overview that came back before us. I believe it was, maybe a month or so ago, when the Moolers brought in their overset of views for the signs. And at that point in time, I believe, Division Plan Development had a few recommendations with Walgreens. And at that point in time, the applicant from the Moolers, who was present on Market Basket, I should call it, indicated they would speak with Walgreens and pass along some of the concerns that were brought up by Planning and Development. After addressing those concerns, Aaron, I believe your department had another opportunity to look at these matters. Can you comment on that, if you would, please?
Yeah, the actual main element, it was pretty small, but we were discussing the returns on the channel letters to be a darker color to match the channel letters that were being used at the rest of the site. Mr. Matthews from Valley Properties showed some illustrations and pictures of other sites where they've used the channel letters that are darker, and it was a better solution for a number of reasons. And it turns out that Walgreens does use a return that is almost black. I can't remember the title, but it's essentially a black color. So they met that concern, and other than that, there weren't really any other issues that needed to be dealt with.
So is Plan and Development satisfied with what they saw on these signs?
Yes.
Thank you. Any board members have any comments, concerns, or requests? Hearing none, what's the request of the board? I know we basically, when they came before us, we were pretty much in favor.
Just one question, Aaron, did our sign designer take a look at it, or our sign officer take a look at these?
Yes. She's already looked at them and provided comments, which were generally supportive of this.
Okay.
This is kind of the third look at them, just because the kind of the phasing of the project itself has kind of brought the specific signs before the Zoning Board of Appeals at different times, although the Planning Board has looked at the entire site comprehensively as part of the condition of site plan approval, so.
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend approval of the design plan submitted before us.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none, matter carries, 5 in favor, none against. Moving along, we have a variance from James Trigveds at 28 Kerry Street. This is to construct an addition without the proper rear yard setback pursuant to section 5.1 of the zoning code. Minimum rear yard is supposed to be 20 feet, and if he adds the addition as he's requested, he would be encroaching, and he'd be off by 10 feet. So he would encroach into the rear yard and make the rear yard non-conforming, where it's conforming as of now. Looks like he'd put on a new addition, 24 feet by 28 feet.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is compounded by the fact that it's a pre-existing non-conforming lot. It doesn't meet the lot size. So the dwelling is okay, but the proposed addition, which is a very large addition, if it encroached minimally on the setbacks, you may be okay with it, but I think it's a 20-foot setback in the rear yard, and they're going within 10 feet, so I think that's a pretty substantial encroachment to request a variance, and I would recommend denial.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes yes, along with the denial. Any opposition? Hearing none, that motion carries 5 in favor, none against. The next matter is for a special permit, and the applicant is Sam Ren Inc., and this is at 680 Roger Street. This is to renovate the second floor of a commercial building into a dwelling unit pursuant to Section 12 of the zoning code. This matter now is on Roger Street. It's between, to the left of Milan's Pizza and to the right of Family Dentist. It looks like they're gonna put 5 parking spots in the back. It's a 2-story building. It has a for rent sign on the building now. Hard to tell what's going on in there presently. Appears that the parking now, if you pull into the lot, is on the right-hand side, which is, and it's on a slant, on where it says access minimum. The parking is right there, but there is a couple of parking spots in the back. It appears they put all the parking in the back. Around the back there, when you see the back of the building, there's a bunch of steps that lead up to an entranceway in the back of the building. So it appears that the building may be vacant at this time, but there was a car located in the back there yesterday morning when I was there at 9 o'clock.
This is, Mr. Chairman, this is, it's tight to get around this building. I know when you exit on the other side, there's actually a door that exits out there, and if you're not careful, you walk out, you'll step right into
Step right into the driveway.
right into the drive area. I certainly would want to have a better idea of exactly how they intend to flow the traffic, because it really is tight. You don't have much of a choice but to just circle around that building, and
I agree with you, Mr. Fischett. It's tight pulling around there, because I drove around there a couple of times.
Yeah.
One of the things I kept thinking of is if there was snow on either parts of the boundary line.
Yeah.
Because it's fenced, so it's not like it's gonna, no offense, but if you look to the right, you have a concrete retaining wall, and on the left side, you have the retaining wall. So a lot of times when people plow, they do push a little bit onto their neighbor's property. And here, you really wouldn't be able to push all the snow to the rear, because that's where you're putting your 5 parking spots. And your entrance is in the front. So I did have the same concern when I drove around there, and my car's small, since it, you know, it's a Corolla, so I don't, like a bigger vehicle, there's no way you can put 2 cars going back and forth either way.
Yeah. And I don't know, I mean, especially to have mixed use and to have residential in with this clearly commercial lot, really. It's all paved. I think it's 100%
There's no
paved.
open
and
space, green
with the
space, I should
building
say.
on there, I don't know, it's just a tough,
I would question the number of parking spaces if you have commercial and residential.
I mean,
Five, you know, it doesn't seem like much, and it looks, if you look at the lot, there may be more opportunity to provide
yeah, their
more
calculations,
parking and better arrangements there, so I would,
their parking calculations said they only need 4, because they're saying they need 2 for the residential dwelling, and for the professional office, they need 1 space per 400 square feet, which is 1.8 cars. I don't know what an eighth of a car looks like, but, so they have to come up with 4. I mean, like I said, the main concern is how tight it is to the right and left of the building.
yeah,
I mean,
really.
if it was situated some other way, but
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, we recommend denial.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody in opposition? Hearing none, chair votes yes in denial. For that matter, we recommend denial. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving along, we do have some general correspondences. I know Aaron did submit to us earlier tonight the proposed schedule for our 2011 meeting. We can either act on that tonight, or have a chance to digest it and see if any of the board members have any questions on those dates, or we can accept it tonight and address concerns as we move into 2011 year. Any board members have any comments on how we'd like to?
Mr. Chairman, I know already that the meeting of Thursday, January 20th, I can't make. I'll be away that week, but I don't know if, difficult to juggle around everybody's schedules, but I know for sure I can't make that evening. I don't know if we wanted to push it to the next week or just go with 4. Either way is fine with me.
I would like to, chance to look this over and
Okay.
look at it at
Well,
our
we
next
take a
meeting.
digest on that, we'll take a look at it at our next scheduled meeting, which will be in 2 weeks. That way we'll have a chance to look at their own calendar, see what we have on. And anybody have any comments on, any of the dates, if they're, and that way we can consider if there's dates that we might lack a quorum or be close to not having a quorum, we could maybe consider alternative dates, and maybe board members would have that in mind as well. Okay, so we'll put this on for next meeting, and any other general correspondences? Actually, I'll start with Division of Planning and Development. Aaron, any further comments for the board to consider at this point in time?
Just wanted to let the board know that the Lowell General Hospital has submitted for a site plan update or amendment to the approved site plan, and we'll have it on for the November 15th meeting.
Just 2 weeks from tonight? Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any other, I'm sorry?
I had a question, Mr. Chairman, on the general correspondence. I know there was a letter in the package, Aaron. I just had a question about it, and it was from the Lowell Health Care Center, addressed to the planning board and yourself. And it indicated that at this time, they were assisting that company with a HUD refinancing application in the need of additional information to complete the process. And they're apparently asking for a letter from the planning board stating that the location conforms to all current zoning. I just have a question. Is that something that's asked of you routinely in connection with refinancings or anything like that?
We will get a request for determination from time to time on the compliance with zoning. Typically, it's been sent to the building commissioner. The building commissioner is the one who...
Yeah, I was going to say, because the building commissioner is actually the zoning enforcement office, so it really wouldn't come from us as to whether a site is in compliance with current zoning.
Right. Typically, for the most part, companies will send a request to the planning board on whether or not the proposed project meets the master plan goals or objectives, the larger kind of planning objectives of the city, because the planning board's the citizen planning agency. So, yeah, you're correct. If it's a zoning determination, typically it's sent to the building commissioner.
Right, because when it conforms to all current zoning, that, takes into account the dimensional requirements, the setback requirements, how the building sits on the lot, the zoning use, all of those things. And normally, they would either hire an engineer to make those certifications, or get some council opinion or something like that. So I'm not certain why they're asking you to come up with that. And I just wondered if you do that routinely and, yeah.
No, in fact, I can provide an opinion, and I do provide opinions, but I can't provide a determination. It's not a binding determination by any means, so.
All right, thanks.
One question I have is, I was watching a council we take the other night, and as a result of our last meeting, when we voted to have some of the zoning matters changed, and the council took a motion, they were looking at some of the concerns that were addressed by Mr. Fischett and board members at our last meeting in regards to extending some of the matters into the 2 different zones. And they were indicating that they made a motion to refer to the subcommittee meeting prior to their next city council meeting, which will be November 16th. Could you just notify us when that may be? I know you usually try to send us correspondence and all of that. And at that time, when I was watching, the vice mayor, Mr. Broderick, was running the meeting. He indicated that he chairs that, so he was going to get a meeting together. And I know that was one of our recommendations, I believe by Attorney Claremont, that we refer that matter there. So hopefully if that comes up, can you notify us and we can go and give them some of our input?
Yes.
So I anticipate they'll be calling that soon because they were going to try to do it before the 16th, which is 2
Yeah,
weeks.
correct, yeah.
Okay. Because I know they had a question whether they were going to act on all the matters at once, or act on a few of them, and the solicitor indicated they could continue some, act on some, so if we could get notification of that, I'd appreciate it.
No problem.
Any other board members have any further comments?
I'm done.
If we have no further Comments from any board members? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, and don't forget to vote tomorrow, November 2nd.
That's right.
Good luck, and thank you, everyone. Mark will be out there.